The forum's illusion. The grand forum of Xylarian stretched higher than any human imagination could fathom. Glass spires intertwined with obsidian towers, each reflecting the glimmer of a billion worlds united under the so-called wisdom of the Galactic Council. Delegates scuttled through mirrored corridors, their claws and tentacles clicking against the floors, eyes darting with suspicion. Every species thought itself the cleverest in the room. Every species was wrong. Humans arrived late. Of course they did. When they entered, it was not with fanfare or etiquette, but with the quiet confidence of predators stepping into a room of prey who didn't yet know they were prey. General Harlow-Kane led them, uniform a bizarre mix of ancient Earth military and unpolished leather jackets, boots that had seen deserts, jungles, and factories. His aides carried no ceremonial gifts, no gestures of humility, just folded weapons and faces that radiated one message: we didn't come here to beg. The Xylari Archon, towering and serpentine, hissed silk-thin words. Ah, the human delegation! Do entertain us with your civility. Kane's jaw tightened. We'll entertain, he said, voice calm. But not in the way you expect. They did not kneel. They did not smile. They did not grovel. They walked straight into the forum, scanned the vast chamber in silence, and, without warning, turned and walked straight out. Not politely. Not subtly. The air itself seemed to shiver in disbelief. Security drones whirred to life, laser grids forming, but the humans moved as if the energy barriers were smoke. You cannot just leave, stuttered the Archon, mandibles clacking in alarm. Kane's voice, calm and cold, echoed through the vaulted halls. Watch closely. You might learn something about humans today. Then the first explosions began, not from human weapons, but from the forum itself. Within 60 seconds, walls shifted, gravity fields fluctuated, and the Council's own security systems scrambled into incomprehensible chaos. Holographic archives flickered, communications channels collided, and emergency protocols locked every exit, except the ones humans chose to leave open. The Xylari froze. Why weren't they negotiating? Why were they turning the forum against us? Kane's smirk was faint but sharp. You underestimated us. Again. It was not hubris. It was a declaration. Humans had weaponized intelligence, unpredictability, and boldness itself. And the Galactic Council, so proud, so smug, so certain, was about to discover just how dangerous the species they called primitive could be. The alien shockwave. Panic rippled through the Grand Forum like wildfire. Every species in attendance, proud, cunning, centuries-old manipulators of politics and war, found themselves paralyzed. They had anticipated negotiation, flattery, perhaps even groveling. They had not anticipated desertion. They had not anticipated this. Outside, the humans were already at work. Drones, sleek and almost bird-like, scuttled across the forum's exterior and the orbital docks. To the untrained eye, they were harmless. To the Xylari fleet commanders watching from orbit, they were devastating. Within minutes, the Council's warships twitched with inexplicable malfunctions. Engines faltered. Shields flickered. Communications burned with static. It was as if the entire galaxy itself were turning against them, guided by an invisible hand. Impossible! Hissed Admiral Kryn, his 6 eyes wide, pseudopods clenching. How could they bypass the systems? They shouldn't even understand the coding matrices. They didn't bypass, Kane said, voice cold, echoing through the forum's central chamber. We taught them bypassing. And then came the true horror. The Council's own surveillance systems, its pride and ultimate control, were turned into broadcast instruments. Every secret debate, every clandestine maneuver, every whispered betrayal and hidden alliance was projected across the forum's walls, a glowing confession in real time. The delegates panicked. Mandibles snapped. Tentacles recoiled. Diplomatic poise disintegrated into chaos. Centuries-old vendettas erupted, political alliances crumbled like brittle bone. Humans moved through the forum, calm as predators watching their prey, eyes scanning, processing, understanding. They laughed. Not mockingly. Not cruelly. but with the clarity of a species that saw the entire machinery of alien arrogance laid bare, and knew exactly how to dismantle it. A Xylarian diplomat tried to assert authority. This is unacceptable. You underestimated humans, Kane interrupted, a thin, sharp smile cutting across his face. Again. By the end of the first hour, the Council's delegates were no longer leaders. They were spectators in a controlled apocalypse of their own making, humiliated, disoriented, and desperate. Humans had weaponized not brute force, not numbers, but chaos itself. And they wielded it like an artist. Every system they touched turned against its masters. Every protocol became a trap. Every expectation the Council had built over eons became a liability. The humans weren't just fighting, they were teaching. Teaching the Galactic Concil a lesson in hubris, in underestimation, and in the raw, terrifying unpredictability of humanity. The counterattack of genius. By the next cycle, the Council had realized brute force was inevitable. Their fleets, thousands of vessels of every shape and size, poured into orbit, energy beams charging, weapons primed. The galaxy's most formidable military armada, confident and cruel, was ready to crush what they assumed was a minor annoyance, a handful of humans. They couldn't have been more wrong. From orbital hangars, the humans deployed a fleet of modified cargo freighters. Ordinary at first glance, ignored by scanners and dismissed as logistical transports, each was armed with gravimetric disruptors, devices that warped the very space around enemy hulls. No plasma, no missiles. Just physics, twisted with terrifying precision. Shielded warships collapsed in silent agony, their mighty engines tearing themselves apart under invisible forces. "You've violated every engagement protocol!" shrieked an alien commander as his flagship crumpled mid-orbit. Kane's voice, calm and lethal, carried through comms, dripping with dry humor. "Law? You mean your law? Humans don't follow rules written by species afraid of their own shadows." On the ground, strike teams moved like ghosts. Council delegates were extracted from fortified chambers, not to kill, yet, but to watch. Watch as their fleets were dismantled, their intelligence arrays turned against them, their centuries of arrogance crumbling piece by piece. The humans laughed, not at the suffering, but at the absurdity of expecting a species that thrived on risk to act predictably. Even amid chaos, there was method. Every explosion, every system hack, every disruption was choreographed to maximize leverage, minimize unnecessary loss. Humans had learned early on that survival demanded more than courage, it demanded ingenuity, audacity, and the willingness to do what no one else would dare. Kane's delegation moved like shadow generals, leaving calculated destruction in their wake. By the time the Council realized the scale of the defeat, it was too late. Half the delegates were negotiating, not with threats, not with bargaining chips, but with raw, unblinking compliance. They offered secrets, routes, resources, everything. Kane refused. "We don't bargain," he said, voice calm, eyes cold. "We teach lessons." In the aftermath, the galaxy was quiet in a way that frightened even the oldest species. The humans had proven that victory didn't come from overwhelming numbers, technological superiority, or ancient wisdom. It came from creativity, unpredictability, and the relentless exploitation of enemy assumptions. By nightfall, the Grand Forum was silent. The Council's fleets were crippled, their secrets exposed, their pride shattered. The humans had not only survived, they had rewritten the rules of engagement for the entire galaxy. And as Kane looked over the horizon of burning ships and fractured politics, he whispered, almost to himself, "Next time, they'll know humans don't just fight. We rewrite the universe." Victory and the price of fear. By dawn, the Grand Forum lay in ruin. Glass towers cracked, obsidian spires scorched, and corridors once alive with the chatter of 1,000 species now echoed only with silence, except for Kane and his delegation, standing amid the wreckage surveying the aftermath with quiet satisfaction. The Galactic Concil had lost more than control, they had lost credibility, power, and the illusion of invulnerability. Across the stars, whispers spread like wildfire. humanity was no longer a species to manipulate or underestimate. Humanity was a force that rewrote the rules. "Do you think they'll retaliate?" asked a young human diplomat, voice tight, scanning the horizon for any sign of counterattack. Kane shook his head, a faint, grim smile playing across his face. "Not yet. Retaliation is for those who can't think ahead. Humans don't retaliate. We preempt. And today, we've shown them the cost of underestimating us." The Council attempted to convene an emergency session, but every delegate hesitated. Those who survived the forum's chaos had been made painfully aware of a terrifying truth: humans did not conform to expectation. Humans did not bargain with fear, flattery, or authority. Humans survived by turning every rule, every system, and every assumption into a weapon. Some humans remained to oversee reconstruction, leaving the Council with the stark lesson that humanity could be merciful, but only when it chose to be. Others vanished into the void, leaving nothing behind but rumors and the lingering dread of what could happen next. Entire sectors recalculated defenses, not against fleets or armies, but against a species that refused predictability, that made genius a weapon and audacity a strategy. Kane stood atop the forum's highest spire, watching the sunrise over a galaxy now reshaped by human cunning. "Next time," he murmured, "they'll remember this. They'll remember that humans don't just fight wars, we rewrite the universe." And the Galactic Concil, for all its wisdom and centuries of dominance, would never forget it. Humanity had survived, yes, but more than that, humanity had declared itself the teacher, the trickster, the predator the galaxy had misjudged for too long. And in that declaration lay a truth older than war itself: when the galaxy underestimates humans, it does so at its own peril. The terror wasn't in human weapons. It wasn't in human numbers. It wasn't in human strength. The terror was in human ingenuity, the terrifying certainty that they would always find a way to survive, endure, and dominate, on their own terms. And that was more terrifying than any fleet, any superweapon, any council decree. That was humanity.